This is the Sacred Business Podcast, a show for spiritual women identifying entrepreneurs and leaders. I am Sora Suriano. On this show, you'll meet inspiring guests, get some business tips, experience sacred practices, and listen to my personal lessons as a business owner. As a transformational business coach, powerful medicine woman, inspirational speaker, fire igniter, heart whisperer, and world traveler, I've helped hundreds of women around the world heal their stories and transform their sacred businesses. It's time for us to claim our rightful and equitable place in entrepreneurship through scaling our business efforts. You are worthy, Divine Sister. Hello and hello, everyone. This is episode 1 of Sacred Business Podcast. I am here to share with you how I have heard no all my life, and it has crushed my spirit for a very, very long time. Now, if you've noticed my name, you'll notice that my last name is No, N-O. And growing up, if you could imagine, you're already hearing the word no quite often as a little kid by your parents and your teachers, your community members and your friends. But then having it as my last name meant that I heard it an exponential amount of times. And when you hear the word no enough, things start to happen in your mind. It shapes and forms some things about yourself. So imagine, close your eyes, and imagine someone saying no to you. You may have a question, or you may be doing something, and they say no. Now, what shapes and forms my understanding of no from an earlier age was no meant to me that I was wrong, that I couldn't do something, that I wasn't allowed, I wasn't chosen, I wasn't included, I wasn't worth it. And what's funny about this is what occurred, or not so funny actually, is what occurred was it really demoralized me and it made me second guess everything I did. Now take that and let's feel into the fact that my last name No is a Korean last name. And so when my father immigrated here and he had to write his last name on a piece of paper that basically documented that he was here on a working visa, he wrote no and spelt it out N-O. He could have spelt it so many different ways. Many people might have spelt it R-H-O or H-O or O-R-O. So there's so many different ways, but my dad specifically chose N-O. And I find that there must have been a reason when it comes to me and my personal lessons. In Korea, though, it's quite a common last name. And so you would hear it and you wouldn't think much of it. But here in the States, I would get teased all the time, right? And so there would be a lot of, no, Sora, no. And then people would laugh. And I would come to the place of laughing myself because what else was I supposed to do but laugh? And yet internally it crushed me over and over again. And even nowadays, I will go to the airport, let's say, for example, this happened to me very recently, and I showed them my passport. And one of the customs person looked at me and said, wow, that's quite a last name. People must have really made fun of you. Or I went to a restaurant once recently and they said, no, Sora. And they looked at me and all of a sudden there was this incredible amount of shame and they had no idea why they even said that or made fun of it, but it came out. And so what I have found is that my lessons around feeling that I have no value to me, that I wasn't chosen to be part of the popular crowd, or these stories that I made up that I'm not included, or that I'm forgettable, or that I'm constantly wrong and don't know the right way to do things, was a place of deep initiation for me. And as I stepped into this place of spiritual entrepreneurship, it was my time to take responsibility because no one was saying no to me in this way anymore that could impact me unless I chose for it to impact me. But rather, it was time for me to acknowledge that I was saying these things now to myself. No one, not the little kids in school, but rather I internally was saying, no, Sora, you can't do that. No, Sora, you're not chosen for that. No, Sora, you can't be included in that, so why bother asking? No, Sora, you are not worthy of that. And so as I stepped into this place, I began to realize as I was working as an entrepreneur that these lessons were constantly showing up for me to learn, move through, heal, and get to this other side so that I can be stronger in my sense and awareness of who I am and my soul's essence. And from that place, and only from that place, once I understood the negative talk around the no, could I begin to embrace my no. I had a reading with an astrologer once, and she invited me to consider changing my last name because no has such a negative connotation in Western culture. And I took that and I sat with that for a while, and I realized, how dare I consider changing that for that reason? It is part of me. It is part of my being. And I chose to be in a family where the last name was No. And so I embrace it. I embrace Sora Surya No. Once I began to really understand the negative talk around my association with no, and I was able to move through them, I began to embrace the positive, strong aspects of no. The place as a sovereign being that I could say no to create loving, firm boundaries. So rather than someone taking up all of my time and me saying yes to it, though I knew that I value my own time, now that I value it, I could say no. This is my time and I need it for me. Rather than saying yes to all of these different things and feeling extremely tired or overextended, I can now say a very positive, beautiful, grounded no to value my worth, my time, my space, my knowledge, my information, my space holding, my coaching, and all of the rest. And so I share this with you to remind each and every one of you on our episode 1 that in the Sacred Business podcast that we will be here interacting with one another, me sharing reflections and stories and guests to remind you, you are worthy. You are worthy of being the fullness of you. Embracing you and your name, to your lineage, to your history, to your stories, to your path, to your power, to your gifts, and of course, your business. And together, let us break this paradigm and share and show that women identifying spiritual leaders and entrepreneurs can make a difference in the business world, including in the mainstream society, that we have an equitable place because we know our worth, that we can have a sacred no and a sacred yes and be fully present so that we can share our magic and change the world, creating much impact globally. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you so much. And remember again that we are worthy. Thanks for listening to the Sacred Business Podcast with me, Sora Surya No. If you love the show and desire to know more, check out sorasuryano.com. I would also so appreciate it if you would leave a love note, aka a review on iTunes. Now, remember, you have the power to create anything. You are able to bring forth beauty, abundance, and grace in your business and life every day while living a life that is wild, free, and calm. You are worthy, divine sister.